Welcome to the live stream. I'm so glad you could make it. We have an exciting show lined up for tonight. Two amazing industry ladies, powerhouses in the cannabis industry that we'll get into a lot of fun conversation with. Before we do that, let's do a little bit of work here. Now, for the serious part, and this is especially important given the topics we are going to discuss tonight, including anything related to High Tide LLC or Mo High Tide or cannabis in general. Do not believe a single word I say, or anything my co-hosts say. Do not believe anything my guests say, without doing your own homework and consulting with qualified professionals. Seriously, we are here to entertain, provoke thought, and to share our perspectives. We are not offering medical, legal, or financial advice. The world of cannabis, particularly in Missouri, is very complex, with evolving laws and personal considerations that can vary. The internet is vast, libraries exist, and critical thinking along with checking local regulations is your best friend. So, listen, enjoy, but always do your own research and consult with experts when making important decisions. Do not take my advice. I am only slightly informed. That's always fun. Okay, I'm going to provide a little contact information for myself here. If you want to get in touch with me, you can do so by getting in touch with me at mohightight@gmail.com. There's my phone number, 573-818-9985. I love stalkers. Please call me. You can reach me on David Huckins on LinkedIn. You can look for my Facebook page, High and Tight LLC, or 420 High Tight on Instagram. Okay, with that out of the way, now it's time to bring on my amazing co-host, Laurie. Hey, Laurie, how you doing? I'm doing good. Let me see if I can get this crazy camera thing figured out. Oh, you haven't been added to the scene yet. There you go.
There I
am. I figured it out. I'm a genius. This is just my second week using this new software. It's a little twitchy. I'm just getting the hang of it, so I appreciate your patience.
All software is twitchy for a while.
I'm so glad you're here, and especially with the guests that we have tonight. You ladies are going to make a great team. This is going to be an amazing show. I can feel it in my bones. Are you excited to be here?
I am, and I'm so excited for our guest because she is one of my favorite people in not just the industry, but in the world.
Oh, so, wow.
I feel very fortunate to be friends with her. And, the cannabis industry is a wonderful place where women really do come together and help and support each other. And she is one of the leaders in that area. And having met her pretty early on in my cannabis career, I feel so fortunate to have her in my corner.
I met you ladies both at the same time at MJ Unpacked last year, where you were both presenting information. And I was very impressed with both of you ladies right off the bat. I couldn't agree more. Luna's a force in the cannabis industry. I think that's an apt adjective. So
I definitely agree with that.
Would you like to tell people how they can get in touch with you?
Sure.
Let me put the right information up.
Yes. So for me, you can email me at Laurie@lkpimpact.com. I also have a website, lkpimpact.com, and I'm on LinkedIn, Laurie Parfitt.
All right. Do you have any exciting stuff coming up that you want to tell people about?
Oh my gosh, what isn't exciting? I will be at Ignited in Cincinnati. I will actually be back in Missouri for the MoCan trade meeting. I will be doing a panel on medical cannabis that I'm very excited about. And then I will be at MJ Biz, and I am speaking like 3 times there. I have 2 panels in the marketing forum, and then I will be on the Illinois Takeover. So lots of exciting things happening for the rest of the year.
We just had Darwin Millard on last week, and he's going to be at MJ BizCon also. And I think he's like speaking at like 5 things. That guy's incredibly busy.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great time. I'm actually really excited for it this year. Some years it's like not sure, but this year I think it's going to be a great year for MJ BizCon.
Okay, that's a great segue to bring our amazing lady spotlight guest of the evening. Here we go. Are you ready to come on, Luna?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, Luna. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. Nice to see your smiling faces.
Thank you so much. So let's jump into this and let people, can you tell people how they might want to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can find me at lunastower.com, and on the interwebs, I'm really active on LinkedIn and Instagram.
Right on. Okay. Tell people about what you got going on.
I am a freelance marketer, so I get to play in a lot of different things. I actually was just at my old employer over at Jetty Extracts a few miles away from my house filming for the Echo. They're a certification program to help verify end product consumer safety. And I'm working with Active Vape, which actually today they just launched Singular, which is a really cool modular vape technology system that's interchangeable, that's super exciting, that I'll go into a little bit more. And then also supporting and representing Rachel Wright, CPA known as 420 CPAs, and now is Verdant Strategies. So helping folks not lose so much money and try to save a little bit of money in their lives. Just got back from Argentina, spoke at Expo Cannabis Argentina. I'll be going to Ignite It in less than a week, and going straight from there to Cannafest Prague, straight from there to Expo Cannabis Brazil, and then 1 week home before MJ BizCon, where I'm hosting the MJs, the Canna Joint Suite, and going to Blunt Brunch, doing all the cool things. So it'll be my 9th MJ BizCon in 10 years. So I'm excited to be there and excited to be moving around the world.
I have some exciting news
Ooh.
to tell everybody. At least I think it's exciting. It's exciting for me. I won a scholarship to attend MJ BizCon as a social equity applicant.
Cool.
So I
Lovely.
will be there this year.
Great. Appreciations Day.
Yeah. So we all should try to meet up while we're there and chat. I'd love to see you ladies again. And you get to meet my lovely wife too. She's amazing.
Yay.
Yeah. If you ever get to meet my wife, she's the best thing about me.
Better half. That's why they call it that.
For sure. Right on. Okay. So why don't you tell me a little bit about how you know this other character that's on the show with us over here?
I remember the first time I really saw her in her full element was at, I don't remember, we were somewhere in Michigan, somewhere, and you were on stage and you were doing a panel. You were facilitating a panel. I just remember being so impressed by her ability to, nuance conversations, transition, piggyback, make sure that the right person was asked the right question, interdispersing it with data and facts and jokes and levity, and was just super impressed. And then I got to see her and her husband when they came out to visit me at Champs. I curated the mushroom psychedelic and mycology section at Champs Trade Show, and they came out and supported and saw me along with Angela Pye. And yeah, I've seen her around the world. She's touched so many different things and inspired so many people, and is really just a consistent positive energy, which is hard to find in the space. It's a lot of grumbling and complaining, and obviously we can grumble and complain, but just that stick-to-itiveness and that focus and that determination and that discipline, but with so much warmth and affection, and it's just that Jewish girl swag. We just have it. It's just that maternal, loving, community building. It's just what we do. It's in our blood. It's in our DNA. It's what we've always done. And storytelling is a huge part of it. I really admire her. She and I do really similar things in the space. She, really helps navigate companies through, compliance and marketing and storytelling. And that's really what we've always done is, oral historians. We're storytellers. That's how we've survived as a peoples over so many millions of years, or hundreds of thousands of years. And this is like kind of our time to, use it for something that's going to heal the world. It's not just about our stories as a people, but it's also our stories as a people with this plant, and how we're going to steward this plant in a right way and in right relationship with the planet and people and the spirit of it. And this is why I believe that women should be doing this work and should be spearheading it, is because we understand that this is, survival, and it's an existential thing. It's not just about bottom lines and money and profitability. We can have all those things too, but love can be lucrative, and we can have, put more into it than we get out of it, and still do well by doing good.
You touched on several things that I wanted to speak to also. Who isn't impressed with Laurie when they hear her talk? She can take information that's a bunch of boring numbers that nobody wants to listen to, and makes it interesting and fascinating to listen to. And then when you're done, you're like, I wish I'd have known all that before. That's amazing.
Talent.
And not only that, but look at this
and you said it twice. Look at that beautiful smile on her face. I don't think I've ever seen her without that beautiful smile. She's always like positive and uplifting. It's amazing.
It's the
I think
plant.
I have to hang out with you two more often. I don't know if I need to move to Missouri or I need to move to California, but I think I live in the wrong place.
Well, we'll meet up in Las Vegas pretty soon. And look, we can get your smiling faces on camera again then, too, hopefully, maybe.
2 months.
Let's see. We got a couple of comments. Let's make sure. Jeremy Culp says, howdy. Oh, and do you ladies know Kaya Mofaya from Fat Nugs Magazine, photographer?
Of course.
She says, hey, sup, y'all?
Sup, baby?
She's going to be our guest next week.
Hell yeah.
So
be awesome.
If you haven't met Kaya, for our audience members, if you don't know Kaya, she is also a force to be reckoned with, and she is on her own wavelength. Next week is going to be off the charts, I'm telling you. Okay. I'm going to ask the same question of you that I ask all my guests first, is I'd like for you to share as much as you're comfortable sharing about your first cannabis usage experience.
Is Laurie going first?
No, you are. Laurie can go too, though.
This is about you, Luna.
Yeah. This is you. This is all you.
I've already told my first cannabis story.
The first one that I really remember, I'm pretty sure it was the first one, was out behind Golden skating rink in San Ramon, in the East Bay, California. I was 11. I was in 6th grade.
11.
I was 11. Yep. And I remember like we were just like drinking Absolute vodka, vanilla vodka out of the bottle and smoking a blunt. And I remember being like going back inside and like, like this, the Friday night, skating rink vibes.
Sure.
Got the disco ball and the neon lights and it's low lit.
Strobe light. Yeah.
And, the fog machines. And I was like, this is awesome. I loved it. It was super fun. And then another, really important, obviously, and then I, continued smoking throughout high school, smoking it and growing it and selling it. And then, but really, I remember, really finding my connection with it at UC Santa Cruz on 420 in Porter Meadow. If anyone's been to UC Santa Cruz, Porter Meadow, we would like hotbox. There were so many people that we would hotbox like an open meadow. It wasn't like to hotbox, but it was like, it like looked like the fog had rolled in. And the police came and tried to like break it up. It was also the first time I'd ever tried mushrooms. And at that moment, I realized like, this is not right. Like, we are not doing anything wrong. We're literally wandering through the forest, hanging out and singing songs. Like, it was my first time when I had felt that clash. And like also being on those substances gives you that hyper consciousness as well. And that was when I was like, oh, this is like really problematic and really unfair. And I was immediately got involved in normal and SSDP and changed my major from art to community studies and have spent the rest of my years in college and after doing prison reform and working in prisons and jails and juvenile halls and public schools. That's why I got my master's in teaching, was to try to intervene around this school to prison pipeline, which is really, cannabis is a huge intervention in it. So it's interesting that like I remember that first consciousness of like, yeah, getting high and like looking at the lights was cool, but then getting high and being persecuted for it and like getting kicked out of the dorms for using it and all these things. It was like, wait a second. And I'm like, oh, I have white privilege. And I still was a victim of the drug war. I wasn't allowed to be a residential assistant the next year because they found cannabis in my dorm room and I was already approved to be like an RA and lost which is free housing. Like that was, cost $30,000 worth of free, tuition or whatever, basically to live on campus. So, and almost lost my ability to be at the school. So it definitely, it at first it was just fun and games. And then I realized like with this beautiful thing comes great responsibility and not everyone has access to it in the way that I did. So there's a fire been under my ass since then to be like, everyone should be getting high, regardless of where they come from, what they look like or where they're at.
Yeah. There's so many stories like this, Luna, where people just like you, like me, like everybody else has been held back because of cannabis usage. And when I worked for an MSO, one of our first campaigns was really reaching out and talking to people on our own teams who had been persecuted for using cannabis. And We had one woman who had actually been sent to drug rehab by her parents because she was trying to use cannabis to mitigate her Crohn's symptoms.
Oh,
And, what's so great about this space now is that we're all kind of corporate misfits and people who, kind of beat to a different drum, whether it would be in college, whether it be in corporate America. We've all come together in an industry where we can all celebrate each other rather than just tolerate each other. And so that's what's so beautiful about this space. And we're all part of a movement, which is bigger than ourselves. And we're helping people live better lives. So by taking those experiences, Luna, like you had, that's such an amazing way to turn it around and make something amazing of it.
Thank you. That's the hope, right? Compost the empire and grow something new out of it.
I wanted to mention that I asked everybody that question about their first cannabis use, and the most common age is 11 years old.
No way.
Yeah,
Wow.
11 years old. Yeah, 11 years old.
I'm so surprised.
Yeah. I've had people say as young as 5, and yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's a little young.
Purpose?
Yeah. And I've had people, as old as 60 and 70, start smoking later in life. That's not that uncommon. Also, I'd like to mention that was a very thorough answer that you gave, and you probably answered 3 of the questions on my list that I haven't even asked you yet. So well done.
Nice. You're welcome.
But you did lead right into this kind of. Your bio mentions 25 years in the cannabis industry, which means you were involved in the legacy market. We just touched on that. What was NoCal cannabis scene like back then?
Well, it was a collective model. So it was really just the grower, the retailer or the collective, and the patient. There was no distro. There was no salespeople. There was no middlemen. Maybe you have a broker here and there, but really it went straight from the Emerald Triangle to the Bay Area to LA. And then from all 3 of those out to the East Coast. So you're welcome to everyone who grew up getting Cali weed. But yeah, it used to be, regenerative permaculture, multi-generational farmers that now have, record highs in drug addiction and overdose and suicide in, major economic depression, because we used to have a bunch of people, like I just was down in South America, like I said, and a lot of people are like, oh, I've been to California. I was a trimmigrant. Or my friends from Spain. Like I met so many people. The first people my first real foreign friends, I didn't make abroad. I made them from meeting them as they traveled here to work. And you could make several $1,000s in a summer and make new friends and live on a beautiful farm with dogs and have organic food. And it was a beautiful life cycle. And then ever since 64 hit, which people thought was going to be decriminalization, but it was really legalization, which meant commercialization, which means tax control and regulate. It really killed the small farmers and the legacy people. So we're seeing, folks like the Origins Council and, Ganjier are still trying to kind of, and the Cannabis Trail are trying to shout out and hold true to that legacy, but it's dying out. There's a lot of folks that are struggling, and obviously because of the overregulation, people are going back to the traditional market, but at a time when a lot of those folks are out of the market. So instead of it being folks that were real true farmers that understood genetics, it's really just people who are looking to make a quick buck. So the quality is going down, the price is going down, but the access and the cost to consumers are going up. So we're in a big conundrum right now. And a lot of us spend a lot of our time mourning and remembering the good old days. It's always been a struggle, right? Brownie Mary and Dennis Perone wrote Prop 215 based on the fact that AIDS patients were, it was helping AIDS patients with wasting syndrome, which is what was actually killing them. We've lost 30,000 gay men in the 1990s in a matter of a couple of years because of wasting syndrome. And when Brownie Mary, after losing her son, was bringing in brownies to keep them alive, and then got arrested, there was a huge outcry and this big press, release of just like, look at this 75-year-old old Italian lady getting dragged out of her house violently. It made Dennis Perone and some other folks get together and write 215, which was really supposed to be a patient access. And then unfortunately, Sean Parker and the Facebook folks and Gavin Newsom got wind of potential money and income, and they ran it into the ground, greed capitalism style. It's been very frustrating and sad, unfortunately.
Thank God for legalization, because that's made everything better, hasn't it?
That's why I don't use the word legalization anymore, because it's a misnomer. People think when they're voting for legalization, they're voting for decrim, and they're not. They're voting for commercialization. I wish people would. There's only two ways. You're either decriminalizing it or commercializing it, and really, they don't match. Like, if you can't really have decrim and commercialization at the same time. So, what are people going to choose? They're going to choose the one that brings in tax revenue, because also the prison industrial complex makes a lot of money. So it actually behooves us to continue having these criminal offenses because it's unpaid prison labor. And we abolish slavery unless you're ward of the state, and ward of the state is owned by the state, as in prisoners. So there's no real reason for them to want to, stamp out the quote underground or the traditional market, because they actually benefit from incarcerating people through that way.
So that's a really interesting perspective, Luna.
Yeah, for sure.
And, I wish I didn't have it, to be honest.
And that's just California. We hear a lot of people who want to, see federal legalization, and they talk about access and how amazing that's going to be. And one of the things we have to think about is, everybody rails against the multi-state operators, the big guys. And what a lot of people don't realize is they're not actually big guys. They're still entrepreneurs. They're still smaller companies. But when we see federal legalization come in, it's going to completely reshape our industry, and probably not in the way that most people would hope for.
It is like we are on the same wavelength, ladies. I was just going to go completely off script and say, let's talk about rescheduling versus legalization. What are your thoughts, Luna?
Deschedule or bust. I don't even want to hear the word reschedule. It is not an option. There is no option other than deschedule completely. If we reschedule, it's just going to go into the hands of pharma, and we're screwed. Period. Will it get people out of jail? Yes. Are there going to be some benefits?
Sure.
If I had to choose between, there's some people that are so hardcore that they would actually rather keep it as Schedule 1 rather than reschedule it because they're so worried about pharma getting their hands on it. I'm not that extreme. I do believe that there are going to be some benefits to the criminal on the criminal justice, banking, things like that. It'll help, security guards not getting shot in the parking lots of dispensaries. So I'm not going to act like there's, incremental change isn't going to have some benefits, just like 64 had some criminal benefits, but it's not the way, and it is 100% a power grab.
Rescheduling is just a tax exercise. It doesn't give you safe banking. It doesn't give you anything major for the industry. All it does as of right now, and that's assuming that if they rescheduled, there was some bill going through stating that they would want to not eradicate 280E for rescheduling. But if that doesn't go through, then really all rescheduling is a tax exercise. Which will definitely help some operators. However, if you're not running a good business now, that's not necessarily going to save you either.
Well said.
But the truth is, the government will use that as how they threw us a bone, and that will prevent us from moving forward with anything else. So when we start talking about descheduling, when we start talking about federal legalization, what they're going to throw back at us is, we rescheduled to Schedule 3. What more could you want?
Right.
And rescheduling to Schedule 3 does not give us, as an industry, what we need to be truly successful.
And to be competitive with all the other businesses that are out there, kind of on a level playing field. It is so hard for us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it definitely is. The cannabis industry, if you can make it in the cannabis industry, you can make it anywhere, because this is the hardest place to work.
Oh my God. I had no idea what I was in for when I got my, I got a micro business dispensary license, and I won the lottery, and I was like, oh boy, I'm rich. There's going to be truckloads of money backing up to my house any second now.
Oh no.
Oh my God. This is.
Oh, people always think we're rolling around in bathtubs of cash. Have you met anybody rolling around in a bathtub of cash? Because if you have, I would like to meet them.
Holler at your girl, yeah, for sure.
Scrooge McDuck.
0%. The only people that did was, what's his name from MedMen, Adam Bierman.
Because they got out early.
And he's a it was fraud. He lied to get there, and literally stole tips from his bud tenders. Like, ugh.
Bleezy says 100%. They just want their cut. The government will not completely decriminalize because they won't get their pockets filled.
Pretty simple.
I couldn't agree with them more.
Sad but
Thank you.
true.
Thank
You
you,
have to
Bleezy, for chiming in.
follow the money.
Yep.
And federal government makes more money off of cannabis being federally illegal than they ever will, or at least in the near future, they will, off of it being federally legal. And even though our argument is that you're going to expand the category, they don't see that future. And so they know what they're getting right now. And this government is very much about a bird in the hand.
100%. Let's see. I think I wanted to ask you a little bit about this. We kind of touched on a little bit of this earlier. You started with roots in activism through roots in organization like SSDP, ACLU, and Cal Normal. What's sparked that passion for advocacy and policy work related to cannabis?
Honestly, just seeing like the impact on women and folks of color and indigenous people, I think is the biggest thing. It's like, okay, we're seeing that this is, a quick cash grab. We're seeing people coming from CPG and traditional markets thinking that this is going to be the next big thing, when really there's nothing new or big about it. It's always been there. Cannabis has been stewarded by indigenous folks, people of color, and women since the beginning of time. We've co-evolved with this plant. It is our birthright. And so I just feel like it is an issue of bodily autonomy and medical sovereignty, and it's a human rights issue, and we need to treat it as such.
Oh, wow. Any thoughts, Laurie? You look like you got something on deck.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the reason a lot of people got in. And it's amazing that Luna has done so much on the advocacy side. And it's something that we as an industry tend to forget about. One is who we've been doing this for.
Yep.
So the social equity, those who've been incarcerated, minorities, women. And then we also forget about our medical patients as well.
Yep.
And these were the reasons that we all got into the industry to begin with. And Luna definitely predates me by a lot. But I came in on the medical side, and this was all about helping people live better lives, being able to take their healthcare back, being able to create sustainable businesses and generational wealth. And we unfortunately haven't seen a lot of that come to fruition. And so I think it's really amazing that Luna came in on the advocacy side and really spent time working with the normals of the world to really bring these issues to the forefront.
I mean, and it works. Like, we lobbied for them to pull back the 14% tax increase to 19%. It was there. It was in place for maybe 3 weeks. I know personally 6 different retailers that went out of business during those few weeks just because of the tax hike. And we were able to pull it back. So it's like, once you start, it's cathartic. It's like once you start seeing that you show up and knock and you're loud and then things change, it's more validating and more encouraging and more motivating and inviting for you to continue being, a loud voice, to lobby, to call, to email, to show up, because it actually does make a change and a shift. They need to hear your stories in order to actually change policy.
Well, and I think the other piece of that is that our government leaders don't understand cannabis.
Oh, no.
They don't know anything about it. And
No.
so they make a lot of these decisions in a vacuum, and it takes people in the industry standing up and educating them about it for them to realize what they're doing. So some of it's a cash grab for sure, but some of it's just pure ignorance that they just don't know enough about it. We see it on both the regulated side and the hemp side, that our legislators are very confused about the cannabis industry.
Mm-hmm. Well, hire us to consult for you then, homies. Come on now.
Of course.
I have been I love telling stories about people whose lives have been affected by cannabis. For example, people that have been to prison or jail because of it, people whose lives have been improved because of it, like medically and so forth. I love telling those kind of stories. I have been trying to get 40 Tons on the show. Are you familiar?
Very.
Yeah, I've been trying to get them on the show. I think that they would be a great guest to have on the show to draw some awareness to what's going on to their important
Freedom
mission.
Grow, jailed for weed.
They're a group that's trying to get people out of prison. There's people that have gone to prison for 25 longer years for cannabis crimes. Yeah. And there are people that are going to jail for murder that aren't going to jail for that long. It's ridiculous.
Right.
Absolutely ridiculous. We touched on this earlier, but I like this question, so I'm going to kind of ask it again. I want to know if you could expand on it a little bit. Your pivotal moment early in your activism that solidified your commitment to fighting for normalization, decriminalization, and safe access for all humans.
Yeah, I mean, I would say obviously that moment in Porter Meadow was a big one, but also I taught a course at UC Santa Cruz called Women in the Prison System, where we went into the two largest women's prisons in the world, VSPW and CCWP in Central California, in Chowchilla. And under the guise of being a criminal justice class, even though I literally taught it, my sponsor for the course was Angela Davis, Angela Y. Davis, a Black Panther, who was the head of the History of Consciousness department. And my department that I was teaching it under was the Feminist Studies department. So it was clearly from UC Santa Cruz, clearly a very feminist and very critical, progressive endeavor, but definitely under the guise of like more of like a middle of the road to right wing kind of a thing. And just seeing the amount of women that were in there serving, life sentences for being mules, for having men use their bodies to traffic drugs over the border, whether it was cannabis or anything else. Usually cannabis was a part of it, but really realizing how much cannabis was really being used as a catch-all for incarcerating women and ruining their lives, and punishing them for being captives, emotional and physical captives of abusive men and systems that force them into doing things based on crimes of poverty. So that was a really big for me. Yeah, I'm a feminist and a prison abolitionist. First and foremost, cannabis is just one element of that. I'm just as big of an advocate against domestic violence and rape culture. Cannabis, it's become an industry, and I grow it. I'm a geneticist. I've been growing, smoking, and selling it, like I said, since 1996. So it's been in my life forever. So obviously that's what I'm more well known for. But when I think of myself, I mean, I was a classroom teacher. I got my master's in teaching and got my credential through the state of California to teach anything from kindergarten all the way up through college. Specifically, I focus on middle school and high school English and history. But like, I'll always be an educator and activist first. I don't consider myself a businesswoman. I don't consider myself a marketer. I consider myself an advocate and a storyteller and a revolutionary. Really, at the end of the day, I really want to see us evolve as a culture and move on to the next stage. And if that means, some of it involves CPG and some of it involves moving product, that's an afterthought for me. I'm not interested in, getting rich off of this. I was a public school teacher for the majority of my career. I've been making minimum wage pretty much when you make 50 grand living in the Bay Area, but you're working, 80-hour weeks grading, 113 15-page term papers and having to give them good feedback. It comes out to about $14 an hour with a master's degree living in the Bay Area, which is the third most expensive place in the country to live. So I've been on food stamps. Shout out to all the people who lost their SNAP benefits, who are going to lose their SNAP.
Oh my God.
I've been on Medi-Cal. I've been on all with a master's and owning a home, like being technically first world country 1% rich, but having no savings account, having nothing extra for anything if there was an emergency. So, obviously the cannabis industry, it's paying the bills in theory, but that's not really why I'm here. I'm not here to get rich. If I was motivated by money, I would not have done 90% of the things that I've done in my life. I see my friends making money. I have friends at the head of, paid digital ads at Yahoo who's making over $1 million a year. All my friends that I grew up with, they're executives at Facebook and Meta. I'm not interested in selling my soul to make rich men richer. No, thank you.
I love that, Luna. And I think that is the reason a lot of us are here. And it's all about doing what's right for the movement. And nobody's getting rich off of this. So you have to truly love it. You have to truly be passionate about it to be in this space, because you will never work harder for less.
Yep. And that's why I'm only contracting and working with people that I really believe in, that I know take care of their people, that I know are not in it for the money, that are really in it to make a difference. And it's not been horribly hard to find. I've been really lucky. I've been made really good friends with the right people in this space. At the second that I went back into my marketing consultancy, a lot of really great opportunities came up because I've just been fortunate. It's one of those things, like when you lead with love and you are yourself, you don't have to wonder who's around you for the right reasons. I'm always this way. I'm always always unfiltered, whether I'm on stage, whether I'm on a podcast, whether I'm in a room 1-to-1. You will never hear my tone, my language, my perspective, my politics, my attitude change ever. I'm the same person consistently always, because then you know that the people that are coming to you are coming to you for the right reasons, and you don't have to wonder if, you know, you have to be curious about the ulterior motives, you know?
Myself and Laurie are not the only people that are impressed with you, Miss Luna. Bleezy loves what you're doing. This person wants you to keep doing it, and they want you to stay lifted, and I agree.
Thanks, Bleezy.
Yeah, so thanks so much, Bleezy. I am going to switch gears a little bit. I saw some pictures of you recently, Luna, on LinkedIn with your amazing cactus, your flowering cactus. That was
Oh my God.
amazing. That was
I
so beautiful.
love, you guys, that was my most viral post of the year.
Oh,
And it has
oh,
nothing
really?
to do with cannabis. Yes.
Like cactus.
On Instagram and LinkedIn. I have like 13,000
Wow.
impressions on that post.
Oh, wow. It was
Yes.
beautiful. It was
People
nice.
loved it. It really just goes to show that we really are plant people, and it's not really necessarily about the weed. It's really about nature, that we're just nature lovers. I'm still shocked that people bring that up, and people talk to me about it all the time. Yeah, it's my San Pedro cactus. It's right outside my window. Yeah, I've had it for like a dozen years, and it finally bloomed, and it was the size of my head. There were 2 huge blooms, and they're only supposed to bloom
Beautiful.
4 hours or overnight. I got it for 3 days because there was cloud cover. It didn't get hit by the sun. And then we like pollinated it. So I'm like, I brought him inside, and I'm going to see if I can make little seeds out of it.
Aw.
Guachumita is my own little San Pedro cactus, but huge fan of mescaline. I believe all plant teachers are healers. I believe all entheogens have a place in our practice, in our minds, in our bodies. I really love San Pedro and mescaline containing cactuses. It's one of my favorite highs. I prefer it to DMT or to psilocybin even. It's like a mix of MDMA and mushrooms. It's so beautiful and wonderful. My cactus isn't big enough to really juice and make medicine from, but I have friends that make medicine from the cactuses. And yeah, it's just such a great reminder that, it was like on a new moon or on a super moon or something. I don't remember. Or no, it was an eclipse. It was an eclipse and a new moon or something like that. And like, it just, it aligned, and it was really unseasonably warm for when it was. It was like when fall was supposed to be happening, but it was like summer night vibes. And it was just incredible. Like the dew point was just right. And it was just such a gift. So thank you for bringing that up. It really brought a lot of people joy. It cracks me up how many people were impacted by that silly little thing. I was just like, why am I even posting this on LinkedIn? It has nothing to do with business. I mean, I think I made some poetic, comparisons between the cycles of, the plant and our relationship to nature or whatever. But it really makes me feel good to know that, like, I don't have to always post relevant business stuff, especially with LinkedIn. The algorithm doesn't like the marketing salesy stuff anyway, but it's such a nice reminder to be like, oh yeah, my friends aren't just friends with me because I talk about weed all the time. They're like interested in what's blooming in my garden. They're like excited for me. It was just it like kind of decentered this, trying to move away from that, that capitalism only focus to just like, what are we excited about? What's cool in the world and what keeps us inspired and motivated? Was just a nice reminder to be like, okay, it doesn't all have to be reports and news blasts and like where I'm speaking next and all this, like kind of what you expect to see on LinkedIn. It was an unexpected post and people would just like love it and still talk about it. This is already like 2-3 months old, and it's so cool that was memorable for you. So thank you for acknowledging that.
I am having a wonderful time. I would like for you to come on my podcast every time. This
Nice.
is fun.
Anytime.
Right on.
When I'm in the country.
Yeah, right. I can't believe how busy
Luna,
you are before BizCon.
Outside the country.
Yeah, no joke. I think I'll be home for like a little over a week, for over like about 2 months. It's like a little over a week between 2 months.
Oh, do you need somebody to cactus sit while you're gone?
Luckily, I have the love of my life, Christopher, who watches my 3 dogs and a cat and our weed garden. He just harvested all himself.
Oh.
He's the man, and runs the breeding project and landscapes, and just finished my balcony. He's pressure washing the house to paint my exterior. There's a reason why you see Luna's secret sauce is in we'll be together 13 years in December as Christopher, my partner.
I've been married 13 years this year.
Oh,
Me as well.
Oh, wow. What? This is crazy.
We renewed our vows in Vegas.
right.
I just got married. I renewed my vows in Vegas last year.
What?
At BizCon. Yeah, I'm going to do it again this year.
I did it
Amazing.
right before I saw Luna at Champs. She was like the first one to know.
Wow,
Cuties.
that's awesome. Wow, we have so much in common.
That's
I'm
amazing.
surprised we haven't been friends for a long time. This is destined to happen.
I think 13 is an auspicious number for the Nepali or the Tibetans, something like that.
Before I ask this next question that's up on screen here, I wanted to share something personal. There's a kind of there's a topic that I've been avoiding, but I came out of the closet about it recently, and that is that I have used microdosing to solve some of my mental problems and get off of SSRIs.
Good for you.
It was terrifying.
Really, I was about to say terrifying.
It was terrifying.
Life-threatening to do that. That's amazing that you had the balls to do that and love enough for yourself to do that and say no to pharma.
I was talking to my psychologist, and I'm like, when can I get off these SSRIs? And she was like, never. You're going to be on these forever. The rest of your life, you're going to be on this forever. You're broken. I refuse to admit that I was a broken person. I was just like, that can't be right. So I want to share my protocol with you. And the gentleman that shared this protocol with me, I met him at MJ BizCon last year, and he's in prison now. So the protocol that I took, that I used, this is the way he explained it to me. The mushroom is going to try and heal a chemical imbalance that's going on in your brain. So what you need to do is to take a very small dose, one that doesn't get you intoxicated. So start off with like 1/10 of a gram, right? And try that every day and get off your meds. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. Nobody's going to want to be around me if I go off my meds. And he's like, just try it. And I did 1/10 of a gram for about 4 or 5 days, and I was okay. And then I got in touch with him and I said, man, I feel like I need to get back on my meds. I'm starting to feel like out of sorts. And he said, no, what you need to do is take another 1/10 of a gram towards the end of the day when that dose is starting to wear off. So now I'm doing 2 1/10 of a gram. And he connected me with some other people that he'd done the same protocol with. And those people are regularly still doing microdoses. And some, I think they're going up to 1/2 gram. The point is not to get intoxicated. The point is
to tolerance break too. Every once in a while, they say to take a few days off or a week off. But in your case, it might not be that easy because you're keeping a certain amount of serotonin in your brain.
Well, after I felt better, it took a couple weeks. I decided to stop just doing the microdosing. And now I only do it as needed. So I'm doing very well,
Holy crap.
Great.
Wow.
Right?
Incredible news.
Yeah.
That is, wow.
So that was hard for me to admit that because I'm a veteran and there can be consequences when the VA knows about your drug use.
Yeah, there's also consequences when you kill yourself. So they should be grateful that you did that instead of what 22 veterans are doing every day. God bless you.
Thank you for saying that.
There was a TV show called You're the Worst. I don't know if you guys ever saw it, but it was about like 4 friends. One of the guys was a vet, and he was really struggling with mental health and being able to operate as a regular human being in the world because of his PTSD and trauma. And he ended up finding cannabis. And now, obviously, this is a fictional show, but they talked about the VA threatening to take away his benefits. And he had been on, like Luna just said, on the brink of suicide. And, at some point, you have to say, what's right for the person?
Yeah.
Harm reduction.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's what you just talked about is the reason so many of us wanted to be in this space, because there are alternatives to SSRIs, there are alternatives to opioids. And the problem is the medical field, they don't know enough about it because most of them are not educated in it. In fact, I have doctors who say to me, I learn about it from you.
Yep. Always.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. In fact, they're oblivious to it because it's not covered in their training, unless it's covered in like a derogatory manner. Like these are harmful substances, addictive substances that your patients need to get away from. They're not taught about the truth about a lot of these medications. And
even if they are, they're scared of losing their MD.
Yes, that's the other thing that's going on at the VA. There are wonderful doctors there, but they are hamstrung by what they can tell you and what they can prescribe you, because they're only allowed to do certain things that fit within the guidelines of how the VA hired them for that role.
And just like
Sad.
medical doctors with the vaccine, they weren't allowed to recommend anything but the vaccine, even if they truly believed that it might harm their patient. They had to violate their Hippocratic oath for Pfizer. This is why we need to get back to the plants, because they don't lie. Psilocybin doesn't lie. It's the only thing known to humankind that rewires neural pathways and builds new neurosis in the brain. Like we don't have things like that work through the gray matter of our brain. When we say we only use 15% of our brains, you use more of it when you're using psilocybin. You build more of it. It's the only thing that builds those pathways. And we really need those. Like our neurons need some love, because we're being short circuited by social media that's making our, attention spans 5-second long reels. We have so much trauma. We're seeing babies in foreign countries getting their parts blown apart. We're watching this administration completely gut our democracy and sell it off to the highest bidder. And it is traumatic, and we're not acknowledging collective and individual trauma. And that's why it's important that we're building these relationships with plants, because it's they say that the age of Aquarius is here and the age of Pisces is ending. The age of Pisces was the age of Christ, was the age of Christ consciousness, the age of this I believe, something outside of myself, the teacher, the prophet, the parent, the priest. And the age of Aquarius is the time of I know. And it's not about believing something outside of yourself. It's about deep knowing. That's why people are turning inward. They're trying to create new relationships with themselves. They're realizing that the divine is within, that the teacher is within, that the priestess is within, that it's not something outside of ourselves. That's what that cheesy Age of Aquarius song is. It's really about this time of deep knowing, not exporting or relying on external factors to somehow fill your cup, that you're already coming full. And a lot of this is the unlearning of things that we've learned. And that's why I was said in the beginning, cannabis isn't a new thing. This is an ancient thing that we've been co-evolving with since the beginning of time. So actually unlearning, we have to take things away from what we've learned to go back to what we know. We already know that lighting this on fire and inhaling it makes you feel good. You don't need scientists. No offense to Meshulam, we love our scientists, but like we didn't need Meshulam to tell us that weed gets you high. We knew this before we mapped out the THC molecule. Do we love mapping it out? Obviously, we're nerds and we want to see all the cannabinoids and all the terpenes, and we want to prove that this is the master plant. She has more terpenes than any other plant, and terpenes are the most commonly found natural compound on the planet. If that doesn't literally crown her the queen of all plants, I don't know what does. She has more cannabinoids and more terpenes than anything else on the planet. So it's like we don't need data to support things that we already know. She's loud, she's sticky, she's sexy, she creates a whole biodynamic community around her of pollinators and other plants. She's
pollinators.
She's abundant. We have so much to learn from her and from the way she is and the way she gives. And, we always, whenever we grow, we always say you grow enough for the thieves, whether the thieves are human, whether they're, spider mites, whether it's powdery mildew, whether it's something, the caterpillars every year, you got to grow enough. About a third of it goes to the thieves. And it's like, just got to know you're pouring one out for the homies. Like she always grows enough so that a third of her crop can die or go down to disease and still be able to keep, enough fiber, protein, food, and psychoactive medicine for the community.
So I love what you said there, Luna. I want to go back to like the filling your cup, that you have it within yourself. We live in a world that is so focused on external validation.
Oh my God!
Getting external validation from everybody, and getting those dopamine hits all the time. And that is, you talked about social media. That's a big piece of it, but there's a lot out there that isn't even social media, that's just getting external validation from your peers, from your spouse, from your children, people you work with.
Yep.
And the fact that you said that it all lives within inside of you, I think that's a really important message for people to hear, that you don't need that external validation. You don't need those dopamine hits from the outside. You have it all internally. And the great way to access some of that is with cannabis and with psilocybin. And by utilizing those plant properties, you can actually access that part of yourself so that your entire world gets better. And if we had more people who thought of it that way, and more people who realized that they could fill their own cup versus seeking this validation elsewhere, I think we'd live in a much better world.
Well, that is definitely going to be a clip that I will post later.
Well, very love that. You know, it's funny because
awesome.
I was just hanging out with my my Brazilian friends who I'm going to be back down in Brazil in a couple of weeks at Expo Cannabis Argentina. And it came up and I was like, oh yeah, Freire came from the Brazilian campesinos, but Paulo Freire, if anyone's ever read Pedagogy of the Oppressed, it was translated from the original Portuguese. He organized the campesinos in the far reaches of the mountains of Brazil. And it's this concept, and I use this, you know, I learned this in my teaching credential program at USF around this humanization of like, students are the learner. Like the oppressive concept is that the teacher has the full cup and the learner is an empty cup, and the teacher is pouring their knowledge into this empty cup. And it is so deeply dehumanizing, and it denies the brilliance that is already contained in the learner. And it denies this potential for the ideal learning situation, which is the student is also the teacher and the teacher is also the student, so that, you know, the cup is already full. When I had students in my classroom, when we have, you know, poor and uneducated, illiterate, you know, farm workers like Paulo Freire was you know, working with, this concept that they had nothing of their own and that they're just stupid idiots that don't know anything. It's like, actually, they know thousands of years of plant medicine. They know multiple languages. They know how to fish. They know how to sew. They know how to find water. Like, it's just because they don't know how to read your stupid letters, now they're
Right.
when you literally don't know how to skin anything and you'd be dead in 3 days in the Brazilian
Right, yeah.
you know, making gill nets and like weaving baskets and like having babies without, you know. So there's I think there is this deep, you know, and this can be applied to really anything also, when, especially like whether it's bud tenders or salespeople, like when we're talking to people, just realizing there's so much that people are coming to us with, and we have so much to learn from them, and that humility and that exchange is deeply humanizing. And I think that that's what cannabis teaches us, is when you consume cannabis, you feel this like, and especially with psilocybin, this all is one. You are one with, you know, like the Dr. Bronner's. If you ever get high in the shower and read all of his stuff, he's a survivor of the Holocaust. But like, it's the all one, the Bronner's all one, all is one. And it's like, you actually, on a cellular level, it's not like an intellectual, abstracted, metaphoric thing. It's a very visceral, physical oneness. You are like, oh, I am vibrating at the same thing as this plant next to me. I'm seeing the bees and their wings move in exact time in ways that it removes the veil of this, you know, like I was saying earlier about this unlearning, that like, we don't need, you know, the media or, you know, so many of these different sources that we're getting information from. We know what's going on. We know what's right and wrong. We don't need pundits telling us what democracy is. We know what it is. We know what a technocratic oligarchy is. We know what corporate cannabis looks like. We don't need a spin to try to gaslight us into thinking that our instincts and our internal knowing is not enough, that we somehow need to get you know, I love my Ganjier training, but there's a lot of people out there that are amazing Ganjiers that don't need to go through that certification process to be experts, that are already experts. You know, so little things like that, where it's like, we, you know, it's important for us to have these landmarks, and for us, you know, I am proud of my master's degree. I'm all these things that I've done, but at the same time, we were born with this knowledge, and the people without these pieces of paper might know more than you. And so like, being humble, remaining as a learner, that the teacher should always be the learner, you know. And that's why I love to see when badasses like Laurie and Angela are like moderating a panel instead of being on the panel. Like, I love to see that servant leadership, where there's a stepping back and there's like an allowing and a creation of the space for knowledge and abundance to flow, that we don't always need to own that. It's that other brilliance can flow in. It doesn't take away from our brilliance to acknowledge other brilliance. You know, it doesn't benefit us. It's only an egoic thing to be like, oh, I have this thing and you don't have it. I'm going to, you know, bestow upon you this gem of knowledge. You're welcome. It's colonial. It's imperialistic. It's dehumanizing, and it's not progressive. It's not really what the plant teaches us. She's not like, I told you so. She's not petty, and like, she doesn't take credit for things, you know. She's just like nonchalant about it. She's like, whatever. Yeah, I'm cool. It's fine. So is everything else. Everything else is great. Look at this: music, sex, rock and roll, like, you know, art. She's like, look at all these other
Food.
people. She doesn't like take all the spotlight. She like shares it with mushrooms. She shares it with sunsets and sunrises. Like she doesn't need to be the loudest thing in the garden. She's happy to be around other things, you know, and not having to be the master teacher and calling herself the master teacher, you know, because there's cannabinoids in a lot of other things. There's terpenes in a lot of other things, too. She doesn't have to be the only one. She's the best of the best, but she doesn't have to, you know, be so arrogant about it. She just lets her benefit speak for itself. And I think we all could learn a lot about her humility and modesty. Despite being as loud as she is, she's still very much, you know, amplifies all the other things around her as well. And is still, you know, she's sensitive to the heat and to the moon cycles and to the water. She's still very much a slave to the elements. She doesn't control any of it. So she has to remain humble because she's just a weed. She's not going to do very well in a couple of days of heat without water. She could die. So she's not trying to act like she's the bomb. She knows that she is a servant and is part of this ecosystem and needs to do her part, and doesn't elevate herself above anything else other than the nematodes and the microbes in the soil and the mycelium in the soil. She wouldn't exist without them. They're invisible. She has big, beautiful flowers, but she, you know, she shouts them out. It's still a part of her growing process. Any good grower knows that.
I would say that's abundance versus scarcity mentality.
1000%.
And that's what we see a lot in this industry, luckily. In other industries, everything's about scarcity, about scarce resources, and about being able to get yourself there first and take as much as you can because it's a scarce resource. And if you approach the world like it's a scarce resource, you're always going to be clawing. But if you say, you know what, the world is abundant, there's enough for everybody, we're all going to be fine, then the universe provides. And I think that's what you're trying to say, Luna, about the plant, is that
Absolutely.
It really has, and I believe the cannabis industry, the psychedelics industry, we all come together with an abundance mentality. Like Luna and I are both marketers. You just mentioned Angela as well. We're all really close friends. It's not like, oh my gosh, I have to get this before the next person. There's enough for everybody. We could all work together. We could all grow together and be great friends and share. And that's what's so beautiful about the space and the people in the space is we all have this abundance mentality. And the ones who don't last very long.
No, and they're not fun to be around either.
Well said. Very well said. I wanted to, we're coming up on the 1 hour of the show. I wanted to backtrack just a little bit, Luna. I was talking earlier about this protocol that I did to kind of help, you know, get my mental balance back together. I was wondering what your thoughts are on what that process was like as I outlined it for you. What do you think?
Yeah, it's fabulous. I recommend anyone curious about protocols to look up the Paul Stamets protocol and the James Fadiman protocol. Some of them call for a few days on, a few days off. Some of them call for several days on, 1 day off. It really depends on what you're trying to treat with. But yes, highly recommend microdosing. Anything above, you know, a 0.5 or getting closer to a gram, you definitely do want to make sure that you do not have schizophrenia or psychosis in your family. It can be contraindicated. Some people with a little bit higher doses of psychedelics, whether it's LSD, MDMA, usually happens with LSD and psilocybin. It can create a schizophrenic episode from someone who may not have had it before. So if you have any history in your family, in your you know, if you have a genetic predisposition to psychosis of any kind, you definitely want to have someone who is I really recommend like the MD folks, and yeah, you want to have someone who knows psychedelics and the Western medical field as well, just to make sure that you're being watched and that you have a safe, you know, it's all about set and setting. The Fireside Project is an amazing project. They're a nonprofit that you can call if you're having a bad trip and they can talk you through things. But microdose means it's a non-perceptible, subperceptible dose. So you should not be feeling anything other than a little bit of mood boost and energy. Huge fan of the microdose movement. Absolutely love it and really believe that it's the way forward.
I actually, I had a gentleman on about a month ago on the show, and that's when I came out about my microdosing use. And after I came out about that on the show, someone got in touch with me, and now I'm mentoring somebody through their microdosing protocol. Yay!
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, To be honest, it's pretty simple. It's just like be in a comfortable place, get your
Yeah.
journal ready, turn your phone off, and enjoy for a few hours. It's like not that. It's like your day is going to go the same. You're still picking your kids up from school.
Yep.
You're still scrolling through social media. It's not going to impact you that much.
But now it should be manageable.
Yes, you're not having intrusive thoughts or that overwhelm.
Yes, I agree. Okay, now I'm going to switch gears back again. You touched on this earlier. You are a certified Ganjier, and I'm a certified Ganjier product specialist. What was that process like, and how has it changed the way you talk about cannabis?
It was fabulous. They have a wonderful campus up in Miranda, up in Northern California. They have 40 hours of video content, including the late, great Frenchie Cannoli, who was a good friend of mine, and a bunch of other heavy hitters in the space. They have a 100 question written exam, and then they have a dynamic where they role play and they try to catch you in kind of being a bad bud tender. You have to kind of pass their different kind of trials and tribulations that they put you through.
Oh, fun.
And give a good recommendation. Yeah, it's fabulous. It took me a couple of years to finish it because I was traveling a lot. I got a scholarship through my company to be able to go at the time to be able to pay for it. And yeah, it was fabulous. I really love the sample assessment protocol. You learn, how it looks, how it smells, how it tastes, the experience, the trichome density. You look at it under a jeweler's loupe, and you need to, rate it within a certain amount of points of what the Ganjier instructors have rated it. And then if you pass all three, then you get your Ganjier certification, which is my class. All of us pass, which is very, very rare for every single person in the class to pass. So we got very lucky.
I don't know what the experience is like for most people, but I did the last year at the MJ BizCon. I got the product specialist. I paid a little extra money and got the product specialist thing.
Yep.
That was worth 10 times what I paid for it because they did a tasting at Planet 13 afterwards. And that was where I got to see, that's what this terpene tastes like. This is what humulene tastes like, or this is what myrcene tastes like. And now I can identify those things much easier. That was really rewarding. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a real sommelier certification. It's huge. And, I judge a lot of cups. I've been a judge for the Emerald Cup and the Farmer's Cup and a bunch of different Dabadoo. And I'm doing with Buddhist this year. They're doing with MJ BizCon the MJ Bowl, the first ever. It's like, the MJs is more of like for companies and MJ Bowl is more for products. So the MJ Bowl is working with PAX and Active. Active is their cartridge provider, their hardware provider, and then PAX is doing their dry herb vape. So having really good hardware that's really solid in the process is also really important. What battery you're using, the voltage, how long you're holding down the battery, because I'm usually judging cartridges. I've been selling cartridges in the space for about 12 years between Neos, which was started by Guy Rocourt, one of the founders of Pop and Barkley. Back in the day, one of my first jobs out of the classroom. And then I was 5 years at Jetty Extracts, their first W-2 employee, and then was 5 years at Ispire, their first employee as well. So I've been in the vape space for a really long time. And, so having that kind of that control and knowing that you're not inhaling nickel plated brass or having other contaminants, not only messing with the flavor to be able to judge it, but also potentially compromising your health. Yeah, fabulous. And I would love to say a little bit also about what Active just dropped today, because it's pretty fresh. And
let's get into your product launch. Yeah,
till tomorrow. active710.com/singular if you guys want to learn more about it. But it's really special. It's called Singular. It's basically the next evolution of vape tech. So for me, and I know for a lot of people, sustainability is huge. Obviously, affordability is really important, and performance. Those are like the three things that the industry usually struggles to deliver at the same time. Usually you kind of have to choose one. So Active wanted to build something that works for every type of extract and every kind of brand, whether they're an MSO or SSO, or they're just, one small market. So the whole vape world has been stuck in these closed systems, like these closed pod systems that trap the brands and consumers into these one systems. Everyone who's ever had one knows you have you open up your drawer and you have a bunch of batteries and things, and none of them work. None of them are interchangeable. So you end up tossing perfectly good batteries or paying more, getting less freedom from it. So Singular basically flipped that model because it's open, it's reusable, it's modular, and it's future proof. So you can even use it with your old 510 carts as well. It has an adapter.
Oh, cool.
So it's
Nice.
really built to serve the whole industry and not just one company's ecosystem. So this like interchangeable engines, they have like a ceramic one, a postless one, a stainless one, for different extract types. One's for a distillate, one's for more like your baby rosins, anything from like a 0.5 ml pod to a 5 ml. So in theory, it could be used in the hemp space as well, depending on the market or the formulation. So yeah, you could pop your 510 carts in. It's bridging the old school and the new tech together. Less waste, more options, and I believe it's a smoother hit, which is why I really like it. So, consumers have always wanted to save money, reduce waste, and still get a premium experience, because a lot of times you're just like pissed and they return things. And for brands, they're actually able to build their own look and feel on top of the platform. So a unique form factor for one state might be different than another state, but you can move your pod from one to a battery to the other. So the finishes and the tech could look different, but you're not reinventing the wheel every time. They can actually, swap. So, from a retail perspective, obviously this simplifies SKUs and logistics, and anyone who's ever run ops knows that this is like a huge thing. So, we're just trying to make vape better, keeping it sustainable and scalable, because so much of this stuff just ends up in the garbage, and a lot of it, because it touched cannabis, can't be recycled, unfortunately. So, this is like, and in a saturated market, differentiation is huge too. So I'm super excited that this gives people like a leg up to, it's because it's super highly saturated. So having one platform is really important. So the two big partners that they launched with are Verano and TrueLeaf. They're the biggest operators in the country, obviously. We've already hit 1,000 dispensaries right out the gate. So, and expanding nationwide in 2026. And there's like, they created Dope as Yola. I don't know if you guys follow him, but they just commented that it was like the best produced vape ad that they ever seen. They made like a movie style trailer at the active710.com/singular. If you guys get a chance to watch it, it's pretty funny. It's kind of a nod to like the ripoff game, like people spying and trying to like get ahead of it, because everyone in the vape space, everyone's always like kind of like, what are you working on? What are you doing? So it's kind of a nod, like if you're in the space, if you know, but the reason I love Active, and I've worked for a bunch of different vape brands, is they actually come from cannabis. Like Alex and Michael and the team, they come from growing and breeding. They didn't come from manufacturing. So they control the whole process from R&D here in the States to manufacturing overseas. And when I was testing for cannabis cups, I would say 90% of the rosin was in their hardware. Almost every single one that won the California State Fair or the cannabis cups are actually in their hardware. So they're working with over 400 brands globally, because they're also in Europe as well. And it's really all about the flavor. Like they actually smoke, they actually consume. We're hoping that, what I hope from this launch is to prove that you don't have to choose between sustainability and performance. You can actually have both. And it's giving the people choice again. And that's what cannabis culture has kind of always been about, and how it should continue to be. So I'm really excited to help them launch it, because I've been waiting for this kind of technology my entire career. And honestly, it's really powerful.
Well, if anybody's interested in one of these devices and you go to their website, put that in your cart, and you enter the Weedcast, you will not get a discount. I am not that important.
Hey, you never know. Mention Luna. Mention that you saw this on the Luna podcast. I'm sure they'll hook you up. They're pretty flexible. That's the cool thing about a big company that has a small company mindset. They really are like a family. They have like the lowest turnover of any company. They have their company retreats at Camp Navarro up in the Mendocino Redwoods, where we have Meadowlands. Like, they are just the nicest people. Actually, Alex Kwan, the founder, and I were friends before either of us were even in the vape space. If any of you guys were around for what was it called? Weed Club 420. It was the 420 Pitch Club at the old Twitter building in downtown San Francisco with Evan Horowitz. And you had 4 minutes and 20 seconds to pitch your idea. And Alex and I were on like the panel, the judges panel. So he and I, that's when he was like just working on, I think he was just like cultivation and a grow. And I was working with, I believe, Jetty at the time. So we go way back before any of this. And so it's really an honor to see what they've been able to do, and really solving a lot of the pain points that it's just been so much drama in the vape space. And we just want to be able to, because it's so helpful. It's such an amazing form of access, but it can be so harmful if it's not done right. So, but also shout out to them for creating a 501c6 called Vape Safer, which a bunch of brands that True Terpenes, Terpene Belt Farms, Abstracts, Pax, Puffco, Ispire, a bunch of people are signed on to it, and it's a regulatory program that we all get together and we help write some regulatory frameworks to help the regulators regulate us instead of them trying to figure out what is safe. It's like, no, this is what's safe. Like, this is what certain vape points are. This is when things become toxic. This is how to check for things. So yeah, the vapesafer.org. We're also doing kind of like a launch at MJ BizCon. We're doing some content there too, because it's a really powerful. I mean, where else do you see all the competitors in one room? And we're on like group calls together. And I always joke that, I work closer with them than I do with almost anyone else. Like, they're like my colleagues, and we're all competitors, but we work so beautifully together, and we're such incredible camaraderie, and we're all here, rising tide raises all boats. And this concept of like us versus them, it's not like that. It's like us versus like the big them. We need to really get on the same page. Progressive movements have always been really good about fragmenting and tearing apart, and you're not this enough, you're not that enough. Whereas, conservative movements find reasons to band together. And I think we could learn a little bit from that about not fragmenting and not kind of thinning out our power and our potency by getting too political and mixing things up. So I'm excited to see people kind of just going beyond the complaining and actually doing something about it, because the action is we have to have action if we're going to change anything.
Right on. Thanks so much for telling people about the new device, and that's a lot of fun. I think people love their devices. You know what I mean? People are very like, oh, this is the device I use is the best one. Try this. And I have a Carta. That's what I use. That's because it was my first electronic device, a Carta 2. And I really like it. And I've tried other people's Puffcos and stuff. And it seems like they're all pretty similar to me. But
you've got a good one.
Oh, did I? Yeah. I spent a lot of money for it, but I feel like it was worth it. It's been very reliable. Works all the time. The battery, I've had it for a couple of years, and it still has a long use on it. I'm really happy with it. I'm still using the same bowl that I bought it with. Well,
that's the beauty. It's a little bit more expensive than the other ones, but it has Bluetooth capability, and they're built really well. Whereas the Puffcos are planned obsolescence. They are built.
Are they?
Yeah, I mean, it's the ceramic atomizers. They at some point you need to spend $80 every few months on them for the most part. But
oh wow,
no shade, but
right, sure, yeah. It's just things that consumers need to know, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how some of these brands gain popularity because of the giveaways, when really I know how much it actually costs to make some of these things, and people think they're getting a $300 rig for free, and it's like $20 to make them. So right, yeah. A lot of loyalty is bought through influencer marketing instead of being earned. But
I had a couple of fun things that I wanted to do. You mentioned a commercial earlier, and I produced this commercial. I think Laurie's already seen it. I was trying to attract some sponsors on my show, so for fun, I made this commercial. Let me give you a little look and tell me what you think, okay?
Okay.
Is your life feeling empty? Lacking a certain spark? Are you suffering from a critical lack of Dave? You need more Dave in your life, and now you can get it with the Dave experience from the Weedcast. Just listen to these satisfied customers.
My life was so boring before Dave, but now I have Dave, and everything is Dave. Thanks, Dave.
That's right. With a sponsorship on the Weedcast, you can get all the Dave you can handle. Dave will talk about your brand. Dave will promote your event. Dave.
But seriously, if you have a brand or a service in the cannabis space and you want to get your message out to our amazing community, I'd love to partner with you. A sponsorship on this show is a direct line to a dedicated audience.
Wow.
I am not embarrassed by that at all.
Oh my God, that's hysterical. Did you make that yourself?
Yeah, I did.
Wow, you're a sick fuck. I love you. You have something wrong with you for sure. I would totally
for sure.
That. Incredible.
So that's a thumbs up from Luna?
Double thumbs up, dude. That was epic. I didn't know I was chronically Dave depleted. I needed some Dave in my life.
I need to get the word out to more people, because I think more people need some Dave in their life. Nobody's called me yet. I'm going to keep playing that commercial until somebody does call me. So there's your warning.
I'll do
Another
my best. I'm gonna go to BizCon and score you some.
Aw, that's so sweet. Thank you. Before we get to the end of the show, which is coming up in about normally 17 minutes, we go about an hour and a half. We have entered into the pants optional portion of the show where we're just
I'm already not wearing pants.
it works out so well for most of my guests. We're already comfortable. So this is just kind of, we're just kind of going loose and free here and having fun. And so that's why you got to see the commercial. Now is a great time of the show. I like to ask my guests to tell a joke. I'll start it off.
I have one.
Okay. Oh, okay. Then you go. You go first.
I haven't told it in a while, so I don't know if the punchline's gonna work. But I was driving down the street with my window down, and this dude threw a gallon of milk at me.
What?
How dare he?
That's awful. It's awful.
Shout out to my chiropractor, Dr. Siddharth Verma, OK Chiropractic. He always got dad jokes on lock for me. I've been seeing this dude for awesome. 18 years, and he always had dad jokes. That's from Dr. Verma.
Nice. How about you, Laura? You got something on deck, or do you want me to go next?
Why don't you go? I can do a comedy routine.
Oh, really?
I don't necessarily have a joke.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell a racist joke. So get ready for that. Okay. So there's these two friends, a Jewish guy and a Christian guy. And one thing that they have in common that they love so much is golfing, right? And so they go golfing all the time together at this one golf course that the Christian guy is a member of. But there's no Jewish people allowed at this golf course. So they're keeping it on the low, right? So they're just going golfing and they're having a good time and they're doing their thing. But it comes time for the Jewish guy. He's getting ready to retire. So that means that he meets the criteria to become a member of the club. And his friend is moving away. So he's going to try and get put in an application so that he can still go golfing at this place that he loves so much that don't welcome Jewish people, right? So there's an interview process, and he's going through the interview process, and they're asking him all these questions, and it's going really well. And finally, they get to the important question. They say, okay, so what's your religion? And he says, I'm Goyish. That's the only Jewish joke I know, and I had to tell it for you. For people that don't know, the word Goyish, I think, is a Yiddish word, and it means not Jewish. So
only a Jew would say it. That's
right, exactly.
Wait.
No non-Jew would ever call themselves
Goyish, right?
Yeah,
right.
Okay, so I have one more quick one on that. Why are Jewish men circumcised?
I don't know why.
Because Jewish women will not touch anything that's less than 10% off.
Oh my God.
Non-Jew told me that joke, and I was like, I wanted to be mad at him, and I'm like, honestly, I can't even be mad at you. It's too good. It's so many jokes in one. It's so many jokes in one. I do love a good deal. I'm generous, but I do love a good deal.
That was awesome. Thank you for sharing. I don't think Laurie wants to go next. She looks really nervous.
I don't necessarily have a joke.
It's okay. I just have one extra for you.
Joke.
You can take
I can tell you a funny story about my daughter from Disney World.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Do that. Yeah.
All right. So, ever been in the Haunted Mansion in Disney World?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go through and they put like a ghost in the cart with you. Like, you see one.
Uh-huh.
But we told her that ghost went home with us.
Oh.
And so then subsequently, I was pregnant with my son. And my daughter asked which bedroom he was going to sleep in. And I pointed to the bedroom he was going to sleep in. And she goes, but where will the ghost go?
Oh, no.
And mind you, this is 3 years later.
Oh,
so
my God.
His son, ghost, lived in the bedroom next door to her.
Oh, wow.
And we're like, What ghost? She's like, the one we brought home from Disney World.
Love the commitment. Love
Yeah,
the commitment.
right. That's the long game right there.
Wow, what a sweetheart. What a cutie pie.
So
I
that
love
is my funny Disney story.
Oh, I love her. What a cute.
I got a funny joke. Or, well, not a funny joke, but also kind of a funny thing that happened to me on my first day of kindergarten. I'll share that with everybody. So we're all sitting in a big circle, right? And the teacher's like, we all got to introduce ourselves. And she got to me, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I didn't know what my name was. I was like, I don't know what my name is, right? She handled it really well. She said, okay, well, what I want you to do is go home and ask your mom what your name is, and then you can come back tomorrow and tell everybody what your name is, right? And I'm like, okay. So I go home, and I say to mom, Mom,
What's my name?
what is my name? And she obviously thought I was joking. So she says, your name is Hamburger. Guess what I did? I went back to school the next day and told everybody my name was Hamburger.
So your mom and my dad would have gotten along really well.
That prompted my very first parent-teacher conference, my first day of preschool.
No, I got in trouble too for saying, like when they asked me at school what my favorite food was, I said diarrhea, and they were like, "No, really, what is it?" I said, "It's diarrhea," and I'm crying, and they're like, "What are you trying to say?" Was, you know, the thing with the cheese in it. I was trying to say quesadilla, and my mom had to come in, and they were like, "Your daughter was disruptive," and I was like, "I swear I was trying to say the thing with the cheese in it. It's diarrhea." Come on, it sounds the same. I wasn't Spanish speaking back then.
That's hysterical.
So when I was little, we would sing the Hanukkah song, you know, Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, come light the menorah.
Mm-hmm.
There was a portion where my father didn't know the words. So it goes, oh Hanukkah, come light the menorah. Let's have a party. We'll all dance the hora. Gather around the table. We'll give you a treat. So this is the piece right here. He didn't know. So he made it up and he said, blow your nose with Kleenex and latkes to eat. And I went to Sunday school and I sang it that way, and I got.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
So your dad and my mom could be very
to play with and latkes to eat.
It's Civi to play with. And
Suvganya to play with.
I think, but he couldn't remember. So and now everybody, like our kids, say blow your nose with Kleenex too, because
amazing.
Yeah. What we remember.
Amazing.
There's a part 2 to my story. So fast forward a little bit to some time when my mom and I are at the bank. And my mom is trying to get a loan from the bank officer. And the bank officer says, well, would you and your son Dave like to? And I jumped up and I said, my name is Dave. My name is Dave. And I'm jumping around like an idiot. Everybody, my name is Dave.
Wait, but I don't get it. Did your parents have a nickname for you? Were they not saying your name to you, or you just didn't notice that was also your name?
I get, I was an only child in a single parent family. Maybe I just didn't hear my name very much.
Yeah, maybe they just didn't. Yeah, maybe they just called you Babe or something.
Yeah. So I thought that was.
Well, no wonder why your commercial is so heavy
Dave,
on your name.
Dave.
You're making up for 5 years of being.
Remind everybody.
Wow, this has not just been a fun podcast. It's also been a therapy session for me.
Anytime, I'll send you the bill.
I bet you will. Wow, ladies, this has been one of the most fun podcasts I've done so far. This has been a really good show. A lot of good chemistry, I think, here.
We'll have to do a part 2 in Q1.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. We could do like the Ladies of Cannabis something. Didn't you do Ladies of Cannabis? One of you do Ladies of Cannabis with Madman Plant after BizCon last year? No? You know who Madman Plant is, though, right?
I think
so. He's a podcaster. He's a mentor of mine. He was at BizCon, but
nice.
He did a Ladies of Cannabis, and he had like Thunderwalker, and he had Dab Cowgirl, and he had Penny Lane, and he had a bunch of girls on like that. Nice. We could definitely do that. I love lifting up women, especially notable women like yourselves that have a lot to contribute. I guess that'll be my last question. what's it like, or how do you feel about being a role model for little girls that are coming up that want to be like, hey, I need to get at this life, whatever it is that they want to do? How do you encourage those people, and what do you tell them?
So I'm going to put a pin in that question. I just want to go back to what you're saying about I am always down to do women in cannabis things and ladies in cannabis and all that
Oh,
stuff. I
good.
just don't want to call it that.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
our brilliance should speak for ourselves. I think that the hyper focus on women, it feeds into this sense of separateness. I think that it should just be all women, and you just don't even name that it's all women. It just happens to be all women. I
Except for
learned that
me.
actually from an MJ. I think it was MJ Unpacked. There was no where yeah MJ Unpacked. It was me, Chanda Masius, Heather, and SB and like another woman, and it was like it had nothing to do with being, it was an all women panel, and it was like kind of sponsored by Women Grow, and they named that, but it had the topic was about 280E. It had nothing to do with us being women, and I loved that. I loved it. Like, it was just obvious that we were all just deserved to be there instead of it feeling like kind of tokenism. So I'm just gonna leave that there, not saying that that's what anyone's trying to do. I'm just trying to like find that balance between like naming sexism and misogyny, naming the fact that women aren't getting the kind of attention and appreciation and respect that they deserve, but also not necessarily feeding into the dynamic where everything's pink washed either, because then it feels like a tokenization or a romanticization or an exotification of something that is like, you wonder like, oh, are you just here because you're a woman in cannabis and that's rare, or is it because you've earned it because you have the experience and the know-how and the skill to do it? So with that said, yes, there is a lot of pressure being a mentor in the space, and actually in a lot of ways, for younger women trying to come up in the space, definitely like having mentors, being around other women, doing your best to try to be a founder if you can, and try not to work for others. If you are, making sure that you're on the cap table, that you're in a decision-making position, that you are in some way or another having some power. You're not just like a disposable laborer, because a lot of people say, oh, we're 40% women. Yeah, well, they're all bud tenders and booth babes. So like none of them are on the cap table. None of them are in a position to be in an approving or a manager position. So I think, in general, when people say that they want to get into the cannabis industry, I say don't. We already have enough of the brilliance that we need here. There's actually a brain drain of people leaving the space. I think that people interested in coming into the industry, unless you're bringing something, it's like, those countries that say you can't move here unless you're like this super specific molecular biologist that works on this kind of animal. And you're like, oh, you can get a visa because you have a super specialized thing that you're adding, that you can come. You're not just another barista or whatever. That's how I feel about the cannabis industry. If you have incredible connections with investors, if you have, if you created an extraction technology that makes perfect solventless, if you are able to audit people's manufacturing facilities to make sure that they're not wasting money unnecessarily on their utilities costs, if you have an unbelievable design skills, absolutely come in. But if you're just looking for another gig, or you read in some Time magazine that you're going to make a bunch of money, or it looked fun and sexy because you saw it on someone's post, we don't need you here. We already have people that are overqualified, that are struggling to get jobs as it is. It's not an easy job market right now. So before gentrifying the space, sure that you're actually adding something and not taking away from someone who's actually been here for 30 years and is looking for a job, and you come in with your fancy, background in XYZ, CPG or corporate, and you're going to come and take this role, be aware that is a form of that is a colonial mindset. That is, a gentrification, an active gentrification, moving into a space that already people are struggling to stay in and be able to make lucrative for them. So only come to add, don't come to take. That's my recommendations. And also, like, just be expected. Like, this is business and it's cannabis. It's bro-y. People are going to grab you. People are going to think that they can, have sex with you because you're trying to be nice to them at an event. People are going to be super sexually harassing at some points. That's just how it is to be a woman in business. So if you're sensitive, if you're a survivor of trauma, if you're not doing the work on yourself, if you don't have a strong network around you, if you're easily triggered, this is not going to be the space for you. You are going to be around rooms of men who are saying and doing extremely inappropriate things at any given time. Not always. I actually have had very few problems. I had more issues in the teaching space and in other business spaces. Cannabis, I find, attracts very, very solid men, very loving, very, women-centric, goddess worshiping. Like, I typically really don't have issues, but also people know I'm not the one to F with. So I kind of have a bubble of power around, or, I have a bubble around me because I have power. People know that I'm a loudmouth. I am a whistleblower. I call out bad actors. I'm unafraid to just completely out people that are doing harmful things to specifically women. But there's other women that are quieter, that are younger, that, maybe drink. I also don't drink. There's also some fine lines that get blurred at some of these after parties where people far away from their families and they're in their 50s, and this young girl is being nice to them and they just get a little confused or overwhelmed, and the quid pro quo situation, well, this is a potential client or whatever, like, it happens to the best of us. I don't think that people are trying to be abusive, but you have to be ready for those dynamics and know where you stand and how to set those boundaries in healthy ways. But not all women feel safe setting those boundaries. Some women are abused or killed or fired for setting those boundaries. So a lot of women lose their voice because it's such a quid pro quo situation where there's so much at stake. So just don't put yourself in that position. If you're not ready to really fight for yourself and stand on business and like defend yourself, if you don't feel like being in that kind of a context, being out here in the crazy wild west of the cannabis industry, unfortunately, is not for you, because this is a big boys game and it's not for sensitive people necessarily. If you want to work for a small women-owned business where you can work in their facility and you have very limited contact with the outside world, that might make more sense for you to be in something that the people around you feel more safe. There's a finite amount of information and networking and interactions that you're going to have. That might be a little bit safer for folks that are really struggling with, the pain of being a survivor of these things and not wanting to be exposed to have to be nice to someone that is overtly trying to flirt with them or dehumanize them or kind of objectify them into a sex object.
That was a lot to unpack.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. A lot of women just don't have the language for it, and they're not willing to talk about it because they work for, they work for a company that they're not allowed to say these things. But that's the beauty of working for myself, is I can speak my truth, and the people who work with me know that this is how I am, and I walk through the world in an honest way and in a loving way. And this is the beauty of cannabis, is it allows us to speak our truth, and it allows us to be revolutionaries in all ways, not just for the plant, because with this plant, you become awakened in other ways too. You become more in your body, more in your instincts, more in your truth. And sometimes that means calling out bad actors and saying hard things and making things uncomfortable. Like, cannabis isn't always comfortable. Sometimes she makes you a little paranoid. Sometimes she makes you question everything. Sometimes she makes you look at someone you thought you liked and be like, I don't like the way you're like, it kind of removes the veil and takes away your excuses sometimes and makes you sit with some hard truths. So, if you're actually sitting with this medicine, not everything's peaches and roses, like, there's going to be moments that are really, really uncomfortable where you need a change of scenery, and you need to make that happen. And thankfully, cannabis makes us sensitive to that.
I want to speak to that for just a second. I'm working on an expose that is going to upset a lot of people in the Missouri micro business market, but sometimes these things need to be said out loud, and you shouldn't be afraid to speak truth to power. It can come with consequences, but you shouldn't be afraid of it.
No. See something, say something. I mean, my people were put in ovens because people were quiet. I've always said that silence is violence. And just because you're holding a mirror to someone else's behavior does not mean that it's your behavior. You're observing and reflecting other people's bad acting. It doesn't mean that you are drama or that you are a bad actor, that you're trying to create issues. You're just shining a light on someone else's being a bad actor. And what I always say is, it's not gossip if it's loving news. If you are putting someone on game to protect them, you're not gossiping. Gossiping is, it's immature. It's meant to harm. Loving news is uplifting. It's informative, and it's meant to heal, and it's meant to protect. And so if the intention is there, that's 100% what it needs to be. It's loving news. You're putting people up on game.
Okay, so this is my last question. You said something that reminded me of a question that I wanted to ask, but I didn't get to it. So proving love can be lucrative.
Yep.
How does this
That's a line that I pulled from
integrate
Andre.
ethics?
What's that?
I was asking just how does that integrate with your mission, was basically what I was going to say.
It is the mission. It is the only mission. It is, we are going to use monetary an abundance, monetary value and abundance flow and resources to undo the harms of the war on drugs. We are going to, utilize the beauty of the energy and the inertia of getting these things out to people who are like Laurie and I, highly educated, make X amount of money, white women between the ages of 35 and 55. We are the consumers. So we want things that speak to us. We want to know that the farmer behind it. We want to know that it's safe. We want to know that the packaging is sustainable. You know, the turnover that you see, the lack of morale in companies, it's so expensive. You know, people are only purchasing things that they align with. They're boycotting things that they do not. There is actual Harvard Business Reviews on these different companies that once they include, you know, bigger bodied models and more indigenous people, folks of color in the marketing and in the decision making, that it hits more authentically instead of it being this perfunctory, obligatory, fake projection of social responsibility or like woke, you know, greenwashing or pinkwashing. When it's authentic, not only do your internal employees have less turnover and they're more committed to the cause and they're more productive and more efficient and less likely to quit and less likely to badmouth you in the market after they quit, which is a major problem in and out of cannabis, but also the consumer side. They're more loyal. This is customer loyalty in this space is the holy grail. If you can't get people to come back and buy your shit, you don't have anything. So having that story, I mean, I know all of us, we go into the grocery store and you read the back of the craft product and you read about the grandfather's recipe and how it's a third generation farm and single source duty to, and we're like, I'll pay 90% more for this than the honey to the left of it or the granola to the right of it, because it touched me. Why would that literacy in CPG not transfer to the cannabis space? How is that not the same? And we're seeing that it is. The way that you choose, you know, your dental group because of the way that they market and the way that they feel, as opposed to just some random one that just feels like bougie. We're in every single way that we choose who we're working with, from vendors to restaurants to wedding photographers. It's the way that you want to, it's aspirational. I want to be associated with it. I want to give my money and I want to partner with, and I want to build generational wealth for these types of people because I know that my vote is with my dollar. That is the ultimate democracy right now, is your capital. So, you know, that's a long answer to your question, but
well said. Laurie, I'm going to say that I know that it's about now time for you to take care of your children and probably.
I'm on Pacific, so it's probably way later for you guys. It's like 10 p.m. for you.
Yeah. So I'm going to wrap this up for your benefit. Would you like to have any final thoughts or ask something of Luna before we go?
You know, I would just love to weigh in on, you know, the mentoring of women and men in this industry. And so, you know, my experience is a little different with the men in this industry. I feel like I've been really lucky to work with some beautiful, wonderful people. I've actually never run into any issues with the men in this industry. They hire me, they support me. The men in this industry are some of the most amazing, beautiful, wonderful people out there, along with the women. And actually, I just wrote a couple articles on this that'll be coming out through Highly Capitalized, Mark Collins's publication. And it's about, you know, being a woman in an emerging industry, you know, building the plane as we're taking off, killing ourselves 24/7, and sometimes needing to lean out. You know, we're all told we have to lean in. You know, Sheryl Sandberg was very clear: when things get hard, when your life gets busy, that's the time you lean in. But sometimes it's not. And sometimes we have to lean out. And what I tell a lot of young people coming into this space is that this is the hardest thing that you will ever do. This is not stoners on the grassy knoll. This is not, you know, sexy and fun all the time. This is a really tough business. And so if you're here, I agree with Luna, you have to be here for the right reasons. Not, you will burn out.
Truth.
At the same time, no matter who you are in this industry, you will burn out if you go at the pace you're always going. So sometimes leaning out and saying, you know what, I'm not going to leave, but I might take a little breather for the summer, or I'm going to take some extra time for myself. Those are going to be really important things because this is a marathon, not a sprint. Federal legalization could be 10, 15 years away. So I know I shouldn't have said that out loud. I'm sorry.
No, you're absolutely right. It could
Well,
be.
I always say we've been saying 3 to 5 years for the last 15, 20 years. So
Exactly,
stop
right.
lying to ourselves. I'd rather overpromise and underdeliver. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
underpromise and overdeliver.
Exactly. And so it's a marathon, not a sprint. So we all need to pace ourselves, and we need to realize that we can't go at the pace we're going all the time, because we do have families, we do have lives. And it's important that we all acknowledge that as well. And I feel really fortunate to be in an industry where, when I did say that about myself, I had people like Luna, like Angela, like a lot of the men in the industry who offered to help out, told me, we got you. Don't worry, you're good.
Awesome.
And I think it's really important for young people coming in to realize that that's going to be what it takes to eventually stay in this for the long term. And the other piece I like to tell people is, if you come from CPG, if you come from alcohol, I agree with Luna. This is a consumer product, but those are very mature industries with large budgets. Those are big companies. Like, when we think like Verano is a big company, GTI is a big company. They're not. They're just big for our industry. The big guys out there are in CPG. They're in pharma. They're in alcohol. They're in tobacco. They have huge budgets. And so
We don't got it like that here, homies.
No, absolutely not. I was even coming in. I came in from CPG. It was shocking. And one of the first things I learned is you have to figure out what you can take with you and what you need to leave behind, because the industry isn't ready for all of that yet. And if you come in there gangbusters, like I know all of this from my job at Conagra or from Kraft Foods,
No.
and you try to implement it all, you will be kicked to the curb very quickly, because it's not that you're wrong. It's just that the industry isn't ready for it yet. So really think about what value, and I agree with Luna, what value you can bring and how you can bring that incrementally so you can meet the market.
I think a mindset for people coming into the cannabis industry is to do it because you love it, not because you're going to make a lot of money or get rich or be famous, because a lot of those things are not going to happen. If you're coming in as like a bud tender or an entry level position, it's going to be a long time before you get a lead position. And that's just the next step up. And you're still not going to make very much money. And then you're going to become a manager maybe. And then you're going to start seeing a little bit of money, but you're still not making a lot of money. You got to do this when it's hard for you to find food to put on the table. You got to love doing this. You got to think about, I'm going to have to take another job so I can support my cannabis interests. You know, that there might be some of that going on.
Absolutely.
It is flipping tough in this industry.
But it's worth it. Thank you all for making it worth it.
Final thoughts are that now that you're alumni of the show, Luna, I want to invite you to come back as a co-host, just like Laurie is, for another episode in the future. So if
cool, we can roast other people and tell more racist jokes. Awesome.
All right, I'll have to go get some on deck then. Thank you so much, ladies. This has been absolutely wonderful. I think this has probably been one of my best shows. Thank you so much for coming in here and being on the show, and we'll do this again.
Absolutely. And it's not because we're women, but it doesn't hurt that we are.
That's right. You're just a fabulous, amazing people. I guess, man, there's so much stuff I want to talk. I'm going to put a pin in that, and we'll talk about it next time, because I won't stop talking, and then we'll be here for 2 hours. So let's just go ahead and end this now on a positive note, and we'll try and make a part 2. So everybody keep on the lookout for that. Thanks so much, ladies, for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to click the end stream, and then there's a long, awkward pause before the stream actually finishes. So here we go. I'm clicking the button.